Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Today, well, we're going to talk about 12 months to being prepared. A lot of people, when they start thinking about, hey, I should get into prepping, hey, I should, look into this stuff, they don't even know where to start. And it can all be a little bit overwhelming. Um, we figured a new year, new you. This is a great time for everybody to go back, check what they already have going on, and kind of, come up with a plan of how they can step up their game and make things a little bit better. I would actually recommend maybe get a notebook, at least a piece of paper, just something to write down the different, categories. You may want to step this up to kind of 12 weeks to getting prepped, but a lot of people like to, get involved and see what they can do. So that's the game there. So anyway, you guys are ready. Let's jump right in. First, happy new year. And yeah. So January. Kevin, where would you start? What are people always thinking about in January? They're
Well, it's the
like,
same.
what do I
Yeah, it's the
do?
same thing every year, right? I'm a fat ass. I've been eating Christmas cookies all for the past month. It's time to go on a diet. Well, I mean, hopefully you're not a fat ass, and you can just start with some basic exercises. Um, I would say January is a good time to start a new fitness program.
I think
Um,
that's an excellent idea.
a lot
I
of
know I
yeah,
ate too many Christmas cookies this year, so that sounds like a great place to start, right? Is maybe
mhm,
lay off the Christmas cookies. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, fitness. Now, what does that mean overall? I mean, I gotta say, probably wouldn't hurt to quit smoking. Those out there doing it, I know drinking doesn't really help with the waistline. I'm
It's
not saying
definitely
give
not
up
good
all
for
your
it.
joy, right, Kevin? I see you got problems. Um,
Yeah, there's problems.
anyway, but I mean that's it. It could just be taking things to moderation. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
I
you
would
can't enjoy a good cigar with life. I'm not
if you're
saying, you can't enjoy life a little bit. But I'm
yeah,
saying, could we all step up our game?
yeah. Well, if you're middle
Um,
age, or getting to middle age, you know that things start slipping. It's not as easy to keep your ass from getting fat. One
yes,
thing that I always see happens with older guys as they start moving into middle age is their ass disappears, completely gone. You got to
that's
start
what it
doing
is.
some squats, man. It's gonna atrophy. You're gonna have just a flabby butt. Nobody wants a flabby butt. Girls don't like it. They want a nice hard butt that you can crack walnuts between the cheeks.
Yeah.
That's what women want.
All right.
If you're trying to stay fit, got to start with them squats. You got to get out there, do some walking, get your cardiovascular system up to date, get everything moving right. If you're out walking and moving every day, or out running, hiking, doing those sorts of things, it's going to increase your metabolism, and it's going to cut down on that beer gut that's been growing all year long. You know you got it. You know it's time to get rid of it. And if you're going to be
There you
fit,
go.
if you're going to be ready and you're going to be prepped, you're going to have to be in good shape, man. You're going to have to be able to get your ass off that couch a little bit and do some moving around. When the power goes out and the cable's gone, you're not going to have a whole lot left to do. You know what I mean? You're going to have to start moving around. You might as well start doing it right now.
Yeah, that only sounds right. I mean, a lot of people kind of have that mindset of, well, when I run out of food, I'm bound to lose weight, and
Then
I'm
you'll
going to
start getting
start
skinny.
exercising then. And that's when I'm going to have time because going to work in the apocalypse. So I'll have lots of time for hitting the gym. And
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
not exactly how this is going to play out. Odds are, if you're don't not in some kind of shape, then you might not even make it past the first couple of weeks.
That's
Another
right.
thing that becomes an issue is when you let your diet go and you kind of turn to crap, you end up with things like high blood pressure, diabetes, all these things that really take a toll on you. And guess what? A lot of these things require medication to maintain.
Yeah.
And it turns out it sucks when you can't get medication in the apocalypse. Therefore, one of the things we can start doing is getting into better shape and taking
Hmm.
things there. So that's an excellent place to start in January.
Right. Right.
Now, moving on to February. What do we got, Kevin?
Well, I
February
think
looks
you're
like,
talking about yeah, self-defense, security. Uh, time to buy that firearm, or time to get out to the range with that
yeah,
firearm and learn how to use it.
that's it. So, a lot of us, different states, we have different gun laws, different rights of self defense, all this kind of stuff. But you need to basically stretch the limits of your state and start to prepare, um whether that's some kind of battle rifle type thing like an AR-15 or an AK-47 or whatever variant you think is appropriate. That's great. Maybe a shotgun is the limits of where you live. Maybe it's having a proper handgun. It's important to go out, find something that's comfortable in your hand, something that feels right. And guess what? Bullets are coming down. The prices are actually a little bit reasonable right now for you to get back in the game. A lot of people are still in New Year's sales, things like that. I know Palmetto's always got great things going on at Palmetto State Armory. Um, you may want to look into that, see if you can step up your game. I know they had a nice little sub 2K, something to keep in the car, whatever.
That's right.
Again, all this stuff depends where you live, Kevin.
I know a lot of the kids now are talking about FOMO, fear of missing out. If you have
Yeah,
fear of missing out on the good prices, you can go to ammoseek.com because they'll help you find the cheapest prices
nice.
for ammo on the internet.
I like it. And they were great to us,
Hmm.
being a sponsor of the show. They're happy to look out for us. So it would be great if we could find the best deals and, get out there, get something in brass maybe and something nice.
Ooh,
You
something
know,
shiny.
maybe you got that gift card for Gander Mountain or Dick's and you want to go down and buy some ammo. Sure, you're going to pay a little more than the rest of us who go to ammoseek.com, but it's time to stock up on that kind of thing. Maybe you use
That's
your
right.
money there to buy the firearm and then you go buy the ammo at the great discount. That's
Hmm.
the answer. Kevin, that was nice. You worked in that little plug there. I like that. It
Yeah.
felt completely shameless when you did it. It was like no shame.
Organic. Organic.
Organic.
All right.
Yeah.
So moving right along here to
Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
Now March,
March.
we've got a similar one. This one is security, but this is home security. So
And that
March
is
would
a
be a
little
good
different.
month. Yeah,
Yes.
March would be a good month to go around and check your doors and windows. Do you have enough deadbolts? Can the police kick down your front door if they come and they try? Can they? Because they shouldn't be able to.
Have you got the
You know.
Tannerite dog set up right in an appropriate scary position when the
Uh huh.
ATF kicks in the door? These are
That's
things you
right. You
need to
got to be
think about.
ready, man.
Now, this would
Mm-hmm.
also be the time maybe you need to set up a cache. Go maybe
Yeah.
get off your butt and go bury some stuff. Now, I know some of you who are like, why? I don't need a whole year to get prepped. I can do this, one of these things a week. Well, I got to say, there's a lot going on with, with buying a firearm or buying, setting up a cache in home security. We
Mm-hmm.
have episodes just on home security. You may want to go back and revisit that in March and take a look. Is your yard, can you see out? Are there obstructions, bushes where people can hide and kind of sneak up on you? Do you have fences? Do you have your animals protected? Do you have these are the kind of things, but deadbolts. Kevin always talks about, do you have smoke alarms? That's a security issue for a prepper.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Making sure your carbon monoxide and all these things are in place and actually wired up and ready to
Right.
go.
Have
That
batteries or hardwired, whatever you want to do with it. There's a lot of stuff that you can get into with low cost.
right.
Replacing the hinges, the screws in your door hinges. Um, a lot of people have the 1.5 inch screw in there. You got to get some some three and a
Right.
half inch screws. That's not very expensive, and just take the old ones out, put a new one in, get it in there nice and secure. Um,
And I've been
but
looking at beefing up the front door, just a
right,
heavier door,
have your
so
door.
these things are a
Metal doors
commitment.
are great, and metal door doesn't have to look like shit. You can get a nice looking metal door, and you can sell the misses on it by it looking nice.
Oh, you let her pick the color, whatever
Hmm.
you got to do, right?
There you go.
Moving right along to April. April,
April's a big one. Now, April, I think in most states in the United States, April's a big rain month. April showers bring May flowers. Um, I was trying to check out Tasmania as far as the weather goes there. It looks like they got a pretty good rainfall all year long. Um,
okay,
I know we've got a couple of listeners in Tasmania. Just trying to give you guys a heads up, but April is a big rain month, and it's a good month to think about water storage.
yeah,
Are you collecting your gutter rainwater? Are
right,
you do you have? I mean, you think about water usage, and it's real easy to think that you don't use a whole lot when you can turn on your cold and hot water faucets, and the water just comes out. You know,
yeah,
um, that might not necessarily be the case, but uh, you know, it you use a lot more water than you think you do. I think the average they say is 5 gallons a day per person, but that doesn't really count toilet flushes. That doesn't really count taking a bath. That doesn't count washing your ass. There's got to be some water set aside and stored up and ready to go. And right now, while the faucet's running, you can get all the free water you want. All you have to do is have containers. Get some of that stuff stored up.
right,
When you go to the grocery store, buy a gallon, buy 5 1 gallon things, buy a 5 gallon container, get some water, have it on the shelf, have it ready to go just in case. If you fill up a gallon jug of water from your sink, that will last forever if it's sealed. If you're putting it in a clean container, it's not going to
right.
go bad. You can just fill up those containers, seal them up, and set them to the side, and
Right.
all that water is going to be free use when the time comes, and it's
Now,
it's real easy to do.
exactly. And the thing is, you don't you need to do what's appropriate for you. If you live in a college dorm, maybe that's buying the extra 24 pack of bottled water to keep under your bed, and you have another one that you work out of all month long. If you live out in the country, maybe you set up your gutters and your collection unit like Kevin's talking about. Maybe you set up some 55-gallon drums that can hold water that you can maintain and keep things going. I know when it came to looking into water with me, we had a second well, but I didn't have a second well pump. And
Hmm.
I went ahead and, was able to put together, once we had some extra money, put together a second well pump. So I now have a backup. That redundancy matters. Also, with my second well, they call it a surface well where you can slide the lid off and throw down a bucket and pull out water. That works out for me. But even with that, I still have gallons of water set aside and ready to go. This is the kind of thing that you should be doing. Maybe you're in a more city environment. Well, water's still going to be important for you. And having 6, 12, 18 gallons of water set aside somewhere is really important. Now, if you have a garage, something like that, you can do even more. Obviously, you want to be aware of what's freezing and what's not. But, you know, you figure out a way to do it. But this is the time. This
Hmm.
is the time to be doing it. And so I don't know. It's just time to get started and get moving because honestly, things aren't getting better in the world. Kevin,
Right.
right around the corner every time, there's always a new emergency, it seems like.
Yeah. Always some other crisis happening.
But I got to say, things aren't exactly looking great right now.
Right.
Things
And
aren't on the up. Yeah,
I know prepping can get expensive. I know a lot of guys that run out there and decide that they're going to start prepping and run out and blow all their savings on shit that they probably don't need. Water storage is cheap. It's cheap
Yeah.
right now. And you're going to regret it if one day you turn on your sink and nothing comes out because you use a lot more than you think you do.
Right.
And it's like I said, it's free right now. Basically, filling up containers from your sink. What do they charge you? 2 cents for 20 gallons of water? I don't know what your local area is, but the electricity pumping it out of the ground it doesn't cost that much to run your water and fill up some containers and get it set up. You don't have to spend a fortune doing this. The big money end is going to be the containers, and and you can get, believe it or not, you can get 55-gallon drums pretty cheap. Um,
Yeah.
do a little bit of searching. You can even call local chemical companies, and a lot of them have leftover, cleaned out 55-gallon drums. And
Kevin, are you
you know,
trying to poison our listeners?
most of the time they have a $15. What do they call it? A $15 deposit. That's less than you
Ah,
get for a tap for a keg. You know what I mean? Just get that shit and don't pay him the $15 back and don't get your refund, and you're already in.
you're already in. No, exactly. No, I mean there are ones that are appropriate for water or appropriate
Right.
for stuff. You do want to find out what's in it and, whatever. But bottom line, do a little research, ask the right questions. Kevin's not trying to kill everybody. If you go back to our episodes, you'll hear a little bit about that. Um Moving right along to May. May, now you saved all that money in April.
Right.
So
Right. April was a
now,
cheap month.
now
Now
I'm
it's
going to
time to
ask you
spend
to
it.
dig a little bit deeper. And we're going to talk about backup electricity. Uh, this may be a
Yeah.
solar setup. This may be something like $400. This may be $1,000. Maybe it's an $800 gas generator. I gotta say, you have to decide what works for you and where you live. Maybe you're like, hey, Chuck, my budget's like $30 for the month towards prepping. Well,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? Honestly, you probably should still be putting that towards food if that's what your budget is. But
Right.
if you have an extra 30 for food every month and another 30 for prepping, then I would tell you even the small little solar chargers that you can use to charge up a cell phone, a flashlight, backup radio, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're not very expensive to get those little solar. And you're the one that showed me those. I'd never even heard of that before. And they've got these little chargers that are about the size of a cell phone, and with a USB cable, you can charge anything that will go with the USB cable. You can charge up your phone, and believe it or not, a smartphone is a really good device to have, especially if you can access the internet. Um, it's a great thing to have as far as doing research. What food is edible, and what plants are edible and not, and how to purify water, how to do all these different things that you might find yourself having to do. If you have phone access and you can charge your phone, that's a big deal.
Right.
$30 can go a long way to getting some of that stuff done. I knew a girl whose mom used to have a USB charged vibrator. I mean, different strokes for different folks. I don't know.
There you
But I mean,
go.
also you can spend money on batteries. Batteries are great for radios, flashlights, all that sort of stuff. A lot of people have the USB charged flashlights. Those are great, especially if you have that little solar charger.
If you do go into solar, I would say for the smaller stuff, if you're talking about the little portable kits and loop batteries, I think they're from Panasonic, but it's Eneloop, I think, Eneloop or something like that. Um, they're great. They hold a charge a lot better than a lot of other ones.
Hmm.
They brag about having so many charge cycles or whatever, so many thousand, and they're great. I've had nothing but great experience with them. That's probably a great place to start. If you guys want to shoot us an email at preppingbadass@gmail.com, if you talk to me about your budget, if you really don't know where to start, I can, point you in the right direction on Amazon or something like that. Because I have been watching it for a little bit, kind of looking to put together something myself. I'm kind of thinking in the more 400 to 800 watt neighborhood for mine to start with. Like I said, I found ways to meet most of my needs without electricity. So it's maybe
Hmm.
not as critical to me as it is to other people. But I feel like 400 watts kind of keeps everything moving that I'm worried about.
Yeah,
But
and
obviously,
if you're gonna
go
go
ahead.
out and get a generator, it's worth the time
Get
to
more.
get an
Yeah.
electrician to get that hooked
Yeah.
up properly and done right, and direct the power towards the things that you're really concerned about. It might be your refrigerator or your freezer. um might just be a heater. I mean, the real issue with a power outage is freezing to death in a lot of places in the northern US. But in a lot of places in the southern US, a refrigerator or freezer is going to be the real issue.
Right.
um, you don't want to lose a bunch of meat, a bunch of food that you have frozen. And I differ with a lot of preppers in the sense that a lot of my food ends up in the freezer.
Hmm.
It's great to have canned food. It's great to have dried food. It's great to have
Now,
all that sort of stuff. But if you're going to have, a good access to good meat, you want a good freezer, and you don't want to lose all that just because of a power outage.
right. No, definitely. And even, I mean, to be honest, if you do a big garden, canning and stuff, unless you're home and really kind of homesteading, if you're out running a job and stuff, canning and putting away that kind of stuff is a lot of work. So being able to keep it all frozen and keep it going. And like Kevin said, losing electricity short term, you can really wipe out your stores, your supplies.
Hundreds of dollars you
So
could lose. Yeah,
so
definitely.
keep that in mind. All right, moving right along. June. June getting a little bit warmer. You're starting to go outside.
Yep.
How about looking into foraging?
Yeah. Yeah. There's another
Going out.
cheap month
What's
here.
edible around you? Yeah, exactly. You're able to
Right.
save up for what's coming in the future.
Right. I grew
Um,
up in this area my entire life, and years and years went by before I realized how much food is available to me for free just in my area. A lot of people talk about dandelions. Yeah, you can eat dandelions. That's one of those things I see people freaking out about their lawn. And, they get one little weed in there and they spaz out. They want to have a perfect lawn, but maybe your lawn should be edible. Lawns are really just a waste of acreage, in my opinion. It should be all dandelions. And if you've eaten dandelion greens, they're disgusting. There's other stuff out there though that you can forage for and that you can work with. Um, you know, Oak trees produce acorns. Acorns don't taste great, but you can work them out. Yeah, wild onions is another one. Somebody's just mentioned
yep.
that here on the comments. That's another great one. You can dig those up and they're edible. You can also use season your food with it. Um, Mushrooms usually start in the fall. Most of the good foraging stuff is starts in the fall. So June is a great month to get started doing a little bit of research. You can find all sorts of apps on your phone to just snap pictures of plants that you don't recognize,
Yep.
and you'd be surprised how many of them are edible. There's a lot of food that's all around you all the time, and if you know what's what, you can access that food.
I know we did an episode on foraging a while back, and there's a guy, Wildman Steve Brill.
Yeah,
And you might think, hey, I live in a city, I live up north, there's nothing to forage. He actually did foraging tours in Central Park in the
Central
middle of
Park,
New
right?
York City. So there's always stuff, planting stuff around in areas around you. This is also a good time when you should be thinking about, gardening, stepping up your there. You might actually want
Yeah,
to start to plan out that garden and order seeds right now and look into where you might want to, put things in a little bit early. But
yeah,
looking into food and vegetables and things like that, how you can get it growing and what can work for you, that's something you want to do before there's a crisis. Um, so you may want to check that out and get started with that and step up your garden game is what I could tell you.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that it's not a great time to talk about gardening here in the beginning of January because you've got so much, so much time before you can plant, but that's not really the case, you know.
it's not.
January is a great month to get your garden started.
Get
If
your
your
seeds
beds
ordered, get
are
things
ready,
maybe
yep,
started. Yep.
get some compost mixed into that soil, get your beds built. If you haven't been
Yep.
gardening, this is a great time to start getting prepped for your summer garden this year.
I already ordered my new chickens for the year. I mean, this is the time.
Nice.
I always
Yeah,
think
it
about it,
is.
when it's warm. You're like, oh, it's
I wish
April,
I had.
May. Now
Yeah,
I'm going to get chickens. And I go to order them and they're all sold out. And they're like,
right.
no. I mean, yeah, you
And
got them at Tractor Supply.
or
I
you do get
understand that.
yeah,
But you're not getting
right. Or you do get them in, and you realize they're not going to be big enough to actually lay eggs until it's
exactly
wintertime when they stop laying so many eggs.
right.
Now is a great time to start ordering your chicks.
Exactly.
All right, so
So
let's talk about July. July is the next month on our list,
all
right?
right. And we have food storage.
Food
So now we
storage.
just started the garden. We prepped. We went foraging. We learned about mushrooms and all kinds of cool things. Now what do? We gotta start canning and jarring.
Right.
That's something. That's a skill that you can really develop and kind of look into and kind of start to put into practice. Now, the other obvious, elephant in the room is people talk about, well, what about the long-term food storage? You know what? That stuff's awesome. And if you got money to throw at a problem, you should buy a lot. You should buy a year of food storage and throw it in the basement and have that ready to go. And that's, you can't beat that. But I would also tell you that there's a lot of cheaper ways to get into that. You can go buy a couple of 20-pound bags of rice, 25-pound bags of rice, buy the 10-pound bags of flour, buy the, 5-pound bags of sugar, put them in 5-gallon buckets with sealable lids. You can look in, uh, I know our buddy at yeah, at Mayhem Country Living there, Darren, he
Darren
would
Taylor, yeah.
point out that you can freeze that stuff and then store it in the 5-gallon buckets and might even buy you a little bit more time. But if you actually rotate through your stuff, maybe what's right for you is setting up a rotation for your cans. They have all kinds of things online on how to rotate your cans. And I don't mean
Hmm.
just by putting the new stuff in back. I mean, they have neat little dispensers where you can kind of load it on the top and
Loaded on the top, right?
dispense it out the bottom. There's a lot of cool things you can do. This is the time to be thinking about it. And like I said, it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars on long term food storage. It can be, hey, I'm just going to go and get started and,
Right.
start buying
And
a little extra,
yeah,
doubling up like we've talked about.
if you're new to prepping, my number one recommendation would be not to go out and spend thousands of dollars on food storage. Not to go out and blow your budget on a bunch of bullshit that until you do a little bit of research, until you start eating that food that you're storing up, you're not going to know what's quality and what isn't. You can go out and buy a bunch of shitty freeze dried food, um, from all sorts of places that will be happy to take your money.
That's
But
right.
do a little bit of research first. Are you really gonna want to eat that shit? Are you really gonna want to eat these freeze dried crackers that taste like they're stale and kind of have a hint of horse shit in there? Because that's really what you're gonna get when you spend a bunch of money without doing any research is horse shit. You need to think about what it is that you actually consume. Um, free people. A lot of people say I don't eat dried food. They say they don't go for that shit. But do you eat pasta? Do you eat rice? There's a lot of great freeze dried foods that you can store up that will last for years. Um, I just had to, unfortunately, and I don't like admitting this because I try and pride myself on this, but I have a canned ham, as disgusting as that sounds, that just expired because it's gross. I never ate it. You don't want to get
Right.
stuff that looks gross that you're going to get it just because it lasts for a long time, because it's not going to work out for you. I've probably had this canned ham that my wife found that's a month past expiration. I probably had this for 5 years, and it just sat there because, I mean, ham out of a can doesn't sound appetizing. If it doesn't sound
right?
appetizing, don't buy it. You don't want to eat that shit. You don't want to eat that shit when the apocalypse is happening any more than you want to eat it now. So get stuff that you feel like you're gonna use and you're gonna eat, because you have to rotate your stock. Yeah, and I agree with one of the comments here is people won't eat certain things until they're actually hungry. That's true. That's true, and you'll find yourself eating a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally eat. I've eaten a lot of disgusting foods just because I was hungry.
Yeah, but
I ate
let's make our downgrade down to Chef Boyardee instead of,
right,
eating worms out of the backyard. Can we do
right,
that? Can we raise the level, a
yeah,
little bit?
yeah.
I'm
Uh,
just
I mean,
saying.
there's a lot of stuff that you can eat that's really disgusting, or there's, like you said, Chef Boyardee, that's just kind of gross, and
Right,
that's
there you
a
go.
great way to look at it.
I mean, that's, we don't need to be eating worms. So, but hey, it's better than not eating
Just
worms.
remember,
That's what I would
remember,
tell you.
if you do have find yourself eating worms or bugs, you have to cook them first because there's parasites all through that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Cook your
yeah.
bugs.
All right. Excellent tip.
All
Let's
right,
move
September,
into. Oh, we did August. August is next. Oh no, you're right. Um, August.
August, right?
Self defense.
Hand
So
to hand
what I was
combat.
thinking is hand to hand combat. How many places have jujitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, MMA classes, this kind of stuff? I got to tell you, when I was in the military, the guys who grew up wrestling background and that kind of thing would quickly dominate, any kind of fighting, that kind of thing. Um, you need to like look into that kind of stuff and maybe put a little effort and time. Now, I'd rather see you sign up for a class and go get some hands on where you're actually
Right.
incorporating these moves with somebody. It is a game changer. If you spent 6 months learning, you're a world away from everybody else. Um, if not, I would say at a minimum, buy some videos, look at some stuff, read some books. I know Tao Jeet Kune Do is always the go-to, right?
Right.
Bruce
That's
Lee
the Bruce
knows
Lee book,
everything.
right?
You
Yeah.
can't go wrong with that.
A lot of people don't know he wrote a book on self defense, and it's easy to follow instructions. It's not complicated stuff. I can't even guess the amount of fist fights I've seen between people that did not have any idea how to fight.
Yeah,
People breaking their knuckles, punching somebody because they're a fucking idiot. People putting their thumb inside their fists to punch somebody and breaking their thumb. Just you need to have some basic concept of it, and maybe you are poor. Maybe you're poor like I am, and you can't afford to go to the MMA gym. You can't learn some skills.
right.
Start some fist fights. Get your ass kicked when you can go
There
to the
you go.
doctor's office and get your nose reset. Don't do it when there's no hospital around. Don't do it when there's no doctor. Don't learn how to fight then. Get into fight some bums. Bumfights.com. There's all sorts of
Start
people
your
out
own
there that
fight
want to
club,
fight all
whatever
the
it
time. Yeah,
takes.
get to it, man. Get to it. If you can't afford an MMA gym, then there's all sorts of people
um,
out there that are ready to fight you. You
I
don't have to win
actually
every
think
fight.
there's a great
Losing
gym right
fights, you
next
learn
to your
more.
house, Kevin. So
There
there's a
is there
great
is
gym
a
right
couple
by
of
your
gyms right
house.
around
So,
here.
with
Hmm.
some MMA action, but whatever. Um, I'm just putting that out there. September, fire building. You're thinking about fall and you're thinking
Starting it
about,
cool off, right?
camping, cooling. Maybe step up your fire building game. Come up with a couple of different ways. Honestly, a lot of people, even with a match and a lighter, can't build a proper fire. Uh, you should be able to start a fire with one match without a jug of lighter fluid.
Hmm.
It is possible.
It's
these are
possible to
things
do that.
you may want to step up. I'm told that the YMCA teaches boxing. There's stuff there. I gotta say, my two boys, I've had them both go through boxing and do that for a couple of years. There was a boxing gym opened up where I lived, and it's a game changer. My older boy, who's just like pretty passive, it knock you right out. He has no
Hmm.
problem, blasting
Because he has the
somebody in the
skills
head.
to do it.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, it's unbelievable if they spend a little time in the gym and learning to keep their hands where they're protecting their body and protecting their face. It's hard to get in on somebody like that. And it's hard to get in and to blast them in the face, but they seem to have no problem blasting you in the face. It's been my
Hmm.
experience. I'm just saying. I read a book, you know.
Bunch of rowdy
Um
kids. Yeah.
yeah, but exactly. So October. Now, starting to cool down, maybe get out and a little time on the shooting range. You got that new gun, you've been cleaning it, you start shooting. Now you're like, Chuck, you know what? I go shooting every weekend and I'm pretty good with it and I'm going to keep shooting every weekend. I need something more. Maybe take it to the next level. A little bit of smithing, a little bit learn to take apart and clean your weapons properly. Really put some time into learning how they work and how they function and how you can, keep them working long term.
Right. Anybody
Um,
that's gone to Army boot camp knows that they have you, Army or Marines, they have you disassemble and reassemble your rifle over and over
right,
again. And that's because knowing how to take apart your weapon and put it back together means you know how to operate it. And if something goes wrong, you know what you're doing, you know? Um, just just owning a firearm doesn't mean jack shit. If you can't hit
yeah,
anything, there's no reason to have it other than somebody coming by and taking your gun from you and putting you in a bad situation.
right.
I fully believe that every person in the United States should own a firearm. I also fully believe that you should not own a firearm if you don't know how to use it.
That's
Um,
right.
you need to spend some time getting familiar with your firearm so that you can use it appropriately and not accidentally shoot yourself in the ass. Do you know that
Oh
Tupac
Lord.
was shot only one time? And the one time he was shot, he was trying to pull the gun out of his uh his waistband and shot himself. It's because if you're a fucking idiot, you're gonna do more damage than good with a firearm. You need to know how to use it. If you're gonna buy one, spend some time and learn what you're fucking doing.
That's
Otherwise, you're
right.
you're just more of a hazard than anything.
That only sounds right. Um, I don't really have anything more to say for that. You guys know I'm the big advocate for getting out and putting some time on, and ammo is coming down in price, so you may want to take a look at that. Um, anyway, November, a lot of states, that's time for hunting and
Right.
trapping.
End of
You
October,
know,
beginning of November, it's time. It's time to get
learn
out there.
learn those skills. Learn how
Hmm.
to, you know, how to actually catch animals, how to go out and be still and see how hard it is to get a deer to walk in front of you when they're nocturnal animals and they're not really hanging out when they want. See what you need to do to really get them to get out. I know we think, dang, I hit deer with my car all the time. It's no problem.
Yeah.
Well, try it. Go out and see. And no, I'm not saying you can't go out and people can't go out and get a lot of deer and do great things. What I'm saying is it's not something you learn overnight. It's something that you go out and put in time and learn and see what you can do with it. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Go out
You gotta have
and
some range
try
time. You
it.
gotta
Do
have
it.
some hunting
Exactly.
time. Yeah.
Um
Now, trapping is another story altogether. I know you took
yes.
a course on trapping, and it's not. It used to be real easy, and that's how our country was basically founded was trappers and hunters. One of the big
Right.
things was
Right.
beaver pelts back in the day. They're only worth about $27 right now, but there's a lot of other animals that you can trap that are very useful. Rabbits are a great one. Rabbit skins are very useful, and the meat is great. Um, and a lot of states have restrictions on trapping. I would just be aware of your local laws. So
Right.
just be aware of that, and get out and do what you can do legally. A lot of the times trappers will go out with the 22 because you have to kind of put an
Dispatch them
end
at
to
the
something
end.
that's
Yes.
that's that's hanging out in your trap. Um, but it's definitely an exercise worth pursuing at least a little bit,
Right.
at least to the point where you know what you're doing.
And these are things you got to kind of try out once again. And all these prepper skills, they come with hands on. And that's what you need to do. And last but not least, I have December. And December, people are settling down a little bit. And I was thinking bushcraft skills, learning to build a shelter. The winter's always a great time to get out and, enjoy that kind of stuff, brave the cold a little bit, embrace your manhood, and, see what you can do. Now, obviously, you can kind of mix and match these, put them where you feel that is most appropriate for where you live, or maybe where you're weak in your own prepping lists and prepping skills, where
Hmm.
you're, falling short. You guys know we have a website, preppingbadass.com. And if you sign up for our email list there, we're going to give you free access to a prepping course that me and Kevin had put together a couple years back, and we'll give you free access to that. You can sign up for our email list, find out all the cool things that we have going on, and once a month we actually give away a prepping badass knife. They're different and unique. Each one is handmade by
Handmade, that's right.
Spanny Blades. And,
Hmm.
he didn't make the blade, but he made the sheath and the handle and put it all together. The blade, well, a lot of the knives, they're all different, but a lot of them have Damascus steel blades, and they're pretty sweet. Think fancy Bowie knife, fancy
Hmm.
sheath. Think Damascus, nice, right?
Nice knife.
So we have a winner for December. I know you're saying, well, Chuck, December just happened and you missed it. And that's actually true. So the winner for December is Scott, who's got an email address that's at duck.com. So if you're Scott at duck.com, you may want to check your email. I haven't sent it out yet, but I'm going to send it out later today. And see if we can hook you up. Send me an address and we'll send you out a badass knife. Anyway, never get an email. We're gonna have to look into that. I would say if you signed up and you never got any emails, which is kind of weird, I feel like I maybe don't know what I'm doing with this kind of thing. Who knows? You may want to email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Anyway, sorry, it's thrown. Um, Either way, so Scott, I will send you an email and let you know about the knife if you're the winner. And otherwise, I would say subscribe to the YouTube channel. You guys
Yeah.
may want to join our Facebook group, Prepping Badass Group. We also have a Facebook page. I think it's like facebook.com/prepping badass. And we have a YouTube channel, obviously. Some of you are watching us here on YouTube live right now. And those of you who haven't, you may want to check us out, Prepping Badass at, at YouTube. And otherwise, I would say you have questions, concerns, comments, email us at preppingbadass.com.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I would
At
say stay
gmail.com. Yep.
safe yeah, that's the one. And we will talk to you guys next week.